it's going to be easier to get bank loans. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because, well, shockingly to no one, there is going to be another thing thrown at the property market. Indirectly, in a way. So bank loans will be faster and easier to apply for under a credit shake-up. And I had a few different viewers send this to me this morning. So I guess none of us are that surprised that this is happening. It's going to be easier to get bank loans. Fantastic. That's not going to just throw more fuel on this property fire. Now, before we go through this article, I'm going to do a plug for my new YouTube channel, HeiseSaysUS. If you're interested in looking at some of the US news that I'll talk about and, well, criticize in a way, check that out. You can find the link down below. Now, let's jump here and have a look at this, because it really feels like, well, they are doing everything they can. Our political class, the banking class, all of our leaders in this glorious property bubble of a civilization that we find ourselves in are doing everything they can to keep property going. Yeah. Forget the consequences. Just buy up, get people in those houses. Come on, guys. Negative gear. Now, quick. Let's have a look at this one. And this is from Samantha Maiden. The days have been asked by the big banks about every dollar of your expenditure, from Uber Eats to Netflix, to secure a loan to buy a home or a small business. Oh, come on. Could soon be over. Who gets a small business in Australia, guys? We know that's only pretend. That's only pretend. In the biggest shake-up of credit laws in decades, the Morrison government is set to encourage faster, easier loans to get the economy moving. Oh boy. And help first home buyers get onto the property ladder. Oh, it's just to help those first home buyers. Now, here's a quote I'm going to draw up. And I know I've mentioned this several times, but for some people you have to remember this is the first time they encounter this. The Cantillon effect. So it refers to the change in relative prices resulting from a change in money supply. The change in relative prices occurs because the change in money supply has a specific injection point and therefore a specific flow path through the economy. Now, where do you think this flow path could be in Australia? Where do you think a big portion of the nation's wealth has gathered? Into property. Into property, guys. Look at that growth. Look at that from the, look just from the GFC 2008. This is why people are saying property only goes up. This is why the Mad Max books excerpt we looked at yesterday. Property only goes up. People are paying nearly $1 million for a property on the edge of cow paddocks so far from Sydney. It is just crazy. And they're going to throw everything they can at it. Because, frankly, politically, we saw what happened just looking at getting rid of negative gearing. And, I was thinking, well, that's bloody unfair. Why are they going to take away negative gearing so younger generations coming up can't take advantage of it? But now I've thought about that a bit more, and I can see the danger of having this. We're a highly taxed civilization, and then one of the easiest methods for most people is simply to invest in property, make a loss, and write that off your income off another source. So get a nice, stable, boring job at the government. And I saw people do this when I was at the Architectural Practice Academy. I went over to Project Services, and the banks loved the civil servants. And what they'd do is they'd be like flipping houses and developing properties on the side while they're sitting there working. It's the way to do it. That's the Australian dream, isn't it? So, for those wondering whether it's wise for Australia to adopt a let-it-rip approach to credit during a recession when our personal debt is among the highest in the world, it looks like we're about to find out. Yeah, let it rip. Who cares? Don't worry. She'll be right, mate. She'll be right. Oh, boy. In the wake of the 2007 global financial crisis and the Royal Commission into the banking sector, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg will argue banks have become too risk-averse on lending. As Australia but aren't we seeing, the RBA did modelling of a 40% real estate crash, and they were talking that the banks were well positioned to weather it out. Isn't that... just recently people were spruiking the benefits of the risk-averse nature of the banks. No, don't worry. They're going to change the rules again. This is the problem with any predictions about where this market is going here in Australia. Simply because we're not in a free market, so common sense doesn't make sense anymore. What you think would normally apply doesn't apply. The share market, you can see here in Australia, over in the US, they are primed for stimulus. The share market will go up on bad news because of the expectation of increased government spending, government stimulus, or increased over there. The Fed intervening in the market directly, even now through third parties. It's just ludicrous. We really are in a clown world. So there you go. They're just chucking more at it. I saw on my community tab for my channel, and I'll bring this up if you haven't seen it, guys. I'll bring it up. Bear with me. I'll just switch accounts. And this was a post shared on Facebook that a viewer shared with me with regards to, well, someone asking just a little question. And here you go. Mad Max took place in Melbourne in 2021. I know that's a joke, but it's damn funny. And here's a post. So an anonymous post to the BFI, I think Barefoot Investor. Shared experiences reading the Barefoot Investor book. And I've never actually read it, to be honest. I like shoes. So I want to know, if I were to go bankrupt with a guarantor on my home loan and say my house was sold with a shortfall of 60K, would the guarantor get time to pay it off like a payment plan? Or would they take the guarantor's house to get the money as soon as possible? And here's Paul replied, make sure your guarantor knows what's going on up front and that they are in discussions with the lender before you do this. And someone else is replying, and I've blacked them out. I'm curious about the answer to this too. Now, hopefully that's just a bot and not a real person. But, of course, let's just juice up the market more. But, I mean, what else can they do? They've got no political will to be austere. No political will to just not let the government, generate money out of thin air, to just print like crazy and devalue everything we hold. Sure, property will shoot up in value. How much will other things cost? As Australia continues to recover from the pandemic, it is more important than ever that there are no unnecessary barriers to the flow of credit to households and small business, he said. But this is the thing, it's a completely unnatural environment, everyone. Our cash rate is it's so low. There's a talk of it even going to zero, and then it'll go negative in Australia. That's happening over in Europe. It's crazy. So, by simplifying the loan application process for borrowers, it will reduce barriers to switching between credit providers, encouraging consumers to seek out a better deal. I mean, it's interesting how they frame it, isn't it? It certainly is interesting how they're framing it. Writing in The Australian, Mr. Frydenberg said the bank's obsession with running a ruler over the minutiae of borrowers' expenditure had gone too far. It is now not uncommon for a person applying for a mortgage to be asked to explain individual discretionary spending and provide verification of a customer's Netflix and Spotify subscriptions, Uber Eats or menu log usage, or other detailed information, he said. I mean, that sounds bloody stupid and insane, but, that's the world we're in, guys. Just get rid of all of these subscriptions. Why are you using Uber Eats or menu log? It's cheaper to eat at home. Remember, guys, no smashed Av. All in order for the lender to be confident that it cannot be held liable in the event the borrower cannot repay the loan. Well, it's just risk mitigation. It's just risk mitigation because we've got this nanny state bloody civilization now where, the banks should have taken better care of the dumb idiot that borrowed more money they can handle. What's happening to Australia, guys? Is this just a new thing, or we've just really become so mollycoddled? Is it because all the helicopter parented children now have become older, and we're starting to see the terrible parenting done by the boomers manifest on these children as they're becoming into leadership positions? Mr. Frydenberg will argue that changes will shift the balance of responsibility from lender beware to borrower responsibility. To be honest about your capacity to service a loan. I mean, that sounds good. The shake-up follows a warning from the Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe that policymakers need to accept that some loans will go bad without blaming it all on the banks. I mean, yeah, of course, that seems like common sense. But we don't live in a common sense world. We live in a clown world where bad news sends stocks going up. Where in countries where the unemployment is the highest it's ever been, you're getting property shortages. Look at what's happening in the States. We can't have a world in which if a borrower can't repay the loan, it's always the bank's fault, he said. Yeah, no, I agree with him there. It's right. You know, we need to get back to a world where there's such a thing as individual responsibility. It really feels like that's becoming a rare thing now, isn't it? No. Oh no, Philip, what you doing? Mate, that's victim blaming. Don't let the social justice people see that. They'll go all over you. Oh. On a portfolio basis, we want banks to make some loans that actually go bad. Because if a bank never makes a loan that goes bad, it means it's not extending enough credit. And he's right there. He's right. It's not perfect. We're not living in that socialist utopia I know everyone wants. We'll all line up for that bread queue. One loaf of bread a month, that's fine. And you're living in your pod with your bug meat. That's it. The pendulum has probably swung a bit too far to blaming the bank if a loan goes bad. I don't know. I don't blame the bank if, well, maybe the media does. The up in Moranbah, real estate agent, the trusted professionals who had borrowed to buy like 5 bloody houses at the peak and blaming the banks. It's crazy. Because the bank didn't understand the customer. That's it. It's never... Well, I mean, this is a bigger point. I'd say maybe it's more so that it's never your fault. It's always someone else's fault. Is that something that's starting to manifest? If it had done proper due diligence, this is the mindset of some, the bank would never have made the loan. So some of the banks have had this mindset. Well, we can't make loans that go bad. In a range of examples designed to show the problems in the current system, the Treasurer provided the example of Lisa, a retiree who recently lost her husband. Despite holding a $3,000 credit card account in both their names, the bank closed the account upon her husband's death, as he was the main cardholder, and refused to provide her with her card in her own name, despite the fact she had $430,000 in her account on the basis that her monthly income wasn't enough to cover it. Tell them to get stuffed and go to someone else. Simple. Or just get a debit credit card. Who cares? In another example of... this is just incompetence in the bank. They're losing money. In another example of risk-averse lending, a borrower, Mark, put down a deposit to buy his first home after receiving pre-approval from the bank. Prior to settlement, he received a promotion at work that changed his role and increased his salary. After informing his lender, the bank's response was that the promotion constituted a change in circumstances. Oh, come on. And therefore, the loan suitability process would need to be run again to determine how much he could borrow. This process was then delayed because Mark could not provide payslips to prove his income was at that level. Why would he tell the bank? That's his own stupid fault. Maybe you have to. It's a change in circumstances. Assistant Treasurer Michael Sucker said ensuring easier access to credit would help small businesses recover from the pandemic. See, they're framing this in a particular way, particular stupid stories. But in the end, fundamentally, this just means, she'll be right, mate, open the floodgate to get more people borrowing. That's what they want to do. Even Phil from the Reserve Bank, that's what they were pushing for, to get small businesses to borrow now. Where our GDP has taken a big hit, where unemployment and underemployment... there we go, and underemployment are still at record highs, guys. At the GFC, we look at the number of employed people. It took about a decade for that to return. No, hang on. I'm getting GFC confused. The recession Australia had to have. Here, let's have a look. We'll check. We'll check here. I need to bring this this graph into my indicators, but we'll go to Australia. We'll go to Australia here. what we'll do is we want employed people. So we'll go down here to labor. Unemployed, unemployed, employed persons. Okay, we'll go to 25 years. No, we'll go to 10. And we can see employed person. Oh, wait, sorry. The employment rate. That's what I want to talk about. Okay, and we can see here in... Where's the max data? Okay, we can see, have a look here, 92. This was the recession that Australia had to have. That was the peak. And let's just drag that line across there. Look at that, 2002. The GFC, there we go. That was the peak. Well, actually, yeah. We haven't really hit that peak until just recently. 10 years, roundabout. Funny that. It's worse than I thought, actually. I thought it was only the recession we had to have, not the GFC as well. But there you go. And remember, this is also because population growth is increasing. So on a per capita basis, if you look at our GDP, it's getting, our growth is going below trend, it's trending down. But don't worry, guys. Easier access to borrow money for houses, that's the way of the future. So, now more than ever, it is critical that unnecessary red tape and costs are removed so that Australians can continue to spend or purchase on a new home and business can invest to create jobs, he said. These reforms strike the right balance between protecting consumers while maintaining a viable sector to provide these products and build upon the successful implementation of ASIC's product intervention powers, which protect customers from predatory lending behavior. So, I mean, I can understand exactly where they're coming from. Any reduction in red tape is fantastic, and unnecessary burden is fantastic. But I'd rather see they look at other ways to stimulate the economy. Because I think this is going to have more unintended consequences. Well, it's just more juice, more petrol thrown on the property bonfire that is our economy. I mean, there you go, guys. Do you think big falls are possible? They are literally chucking everything at it. Maybe they'll start giving everyone, a viewer said, maybe they'll start giving everyone $10 million interest-free loans. Just to juice it all up. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I created, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I will see you all in the next episode.